I've honestly always wondered why people think that dying is a group project because I know that people try to scare me into this idea that dying alone is such a terrible fate, but I honestly can't help but laugh because, imagine this. You're lying in bed, enjoying dead silence, no family arguments over who gets the last slice of pizza, no one to tell you what to do. It seems like peace and quiet, if you ask me. It's like a permanent vacation from the chaos of life. Anyway, guys, my name is Shelby, and if you're new here, you can support this channel with the links below, which include a link to my Shopify to buy prints of my art, a buy me a coffee for donations, and my Instagram art gallery. Otherwise, feel free to leave a comment and subscribe for free. I'm not really afraid of death as long as I'm in good health and I have quality of life. Like, feel free to take me out the game, coach, if I can't take care of myself anymore. You know what I mean? Like, the day I am unable to wipe my own ass is probably the day I need to be taken out back and euthanized or something like that. But it seems that people usually bring up fear of dying alone within the context of me not wanting to have kids. And when everything is capable of being taken away, it seems less about being afraid of dying alone and more about living for nothing. Everyone who dies is someone's child after all, and people die every day. Both of my grandmothers outlived at least one of their children, and there is no promise that being a parent will result in company or caretaking as you age. The classic boogeyman of dying alone without kids was a picture painted by society to look like a sad, lonely existence to avoid, um, this kind of thing at any cost, mostly due to the perceived stigma. But let's take a moment to laugh at the absurdity of it all, because dying alone is a perfectly valid way to leave this world. After all, who needs a bedside audience when you're wasting away? It seems like I would rather prefer my privacy to do that, and all I would really want would be my pets curled up next to me, and that would be enough for me. Not to mention, if you make it all the way to hospice during your last moments, you usually end up unconscious and unable to communicate anyway. So, what's the point of having people next to you if you don't even know that they're there? And let's be real, kids are not easy. They're a lot of work. And between the endless demands of parenthood, who has time for their own dreams and ambitions if as a mom? And dying without kids means a life lived on your terms, leaving the house when you want, watching whatever show that you want, and so much free time. And you enjoy these perks of the child free lifestyle. Not to mention all the money that you're going to save by not doing this and having them. I just feel like, as an introvert with limited social needs, solitude and death is likely a relief and something to be desired, and it seems to be the neurotypical extroverts with their inconvenient need for never being by themselves that create this fear in the first place. But one size doesn't fit all, and everyone has different needs. And usually, when you try to exert sovereignty over your life, people will react in fear because they're projecting their own fear of loneliness onto you. Without the distraction of kids, we have the opportunity to discover who we really are. No one, no getting our identities lost in motherhood. And like I said, who needs a mini me when you can instead become your best self? When I was worried about ending up alone, I would be surrounded by people who made me feel alone. Usually, low vibration people have a much easier time finding friends because it's easier to bond over shared enemies, drama, drinking, and drugs than it is to do what's right and find someone that you actually connect with, mentally and emotionally. And most of us are opting out of the old scripts and rejecting marriage and kids. There just doesn't seem to be a lot of incentive to marriage anymore for both men and women, and there's just too much risk on both sides to take on such a contract. The risk of parental alienation, getting zeroed out financially, losing financial stability as a stay-at-home mom if you do it with the wrong person, or becoming a single mother later, is just not worth the risk. There's risk for both men and women when it comes to parenting and comes to marriage, and I just feel like we're opting out in general these days. And not everyone has the privilege to live life without marriage or parenting. This is like, we're like one of the first generations to be able to do this. The women that came before us never had a choice. I just don't think that the current way society is heading would allow new life to thrive. We have such a brief chance to exist that I just don't think it matters how you exist in this world or how you exit this world, because most of the time dying only takes a few weeks out of your life anyway, and it doesn't seem to be something that's worth obsessing over. Kids equal buying a lot of stuff like clothes, toys, and school supplies, you name it. Without kids, it's very possible to live a minimalistic lifestyle without being weighed down by someone else's clutter. And dying alone means none of the financial baggage of parenting and more time to spend late in life on your own care by being tended to by people that actually know what they're doing in terms of caring for elders. The idea of legacy seems to be overblown, in my opinion, because dying is inevitable, and most of us don't even remember more than 2 generations before us anyway. Like, how many people actually remember their great great grandparents? Your impact on the world without kids could be potentially more profound than just leaving a bunch of new people to inhabit the earth. And being bound to the wrong person or people is a worse fate than dying alone. I'm at the point where I almost have no fucks left to give about being single after seeing what everyone is going through with their relationships and families. Sometimes it seems like I dodged a bullet, but I'll admit that sometimes I do wonder what it would be like to have a life partner. I just haven't really met that person yet. And besides worrying about dying alone, it assumes that you'll make it to old age in the first place, and the future can't be predicted anyway. I don't have a crystal ball. I could literally die tomorrow or die at 120. There's just no way of knowing if I'll even make it to a point where I need hospice care. I could die tragically at any moment. People die on the highways all the time. People drop dead of heart attacks all the time. People make decisions in life to prevent things in life that might not even happen in the first place. Getting married and having kids is one of those things that I think people do to try to avoid a terrible fate that's sometime distant in the future. People think they will prevent dying alone or having no care in old age when it's nothing more than a gamble anyway when it comes to having a family. I'm trying to stop worrying about my existence because it's really not that significant in the first place. At the end of the day, does it really matter if I suffer? Like, no matter what happens, I have to endure it. I have suffered terribly at a young age. I got through it, and no matter what happens, whether it works out or not, it is what it is. And either I get through it and survive, or I get through it and I die. And I feel like suffering is really inevitable in this life, and it's not something we can really avoid anyway, simply by surrounding ourselves by other people. Even if you have other people in your life, it doesn't really absolve you of suffering in a lot of cases. I will have to embrace and endure whatever happens. You know, whatever's going to happen is going to happen. And what you try to prevent from happening usually ends up becoming a self-fulfilling prophecy in kind of a Star Wars type of a way. The lifestyle of being able to prioritize my art and trying to become a professional artist has basically been laid out for me as if it has become my destiny whether I chose for it to be or not. So I might as well embrace what the universe has laid out for me because doing things my way hasn't worked, so I should probably at least try to do it the way the higher power wants me to do it. And it seems that the basic 9 to 5 is just not compatible with me, and I have an opportunity now to focus on myself and do the things that I want to do. I'm trying to be more like a dog in a lot of ways, like having no past, no future, just a never-ending now, present moment, and no longer try to fantasize about the future or ruminate on the past because in reality, you don't know what's going to happen and you can't change what's already been. So future planning is kind of a privilege. In all honesty, I think if you can't plan for it, it's nothing to worry about anyway. And if you can plan for it, you have stability in your life in order to be able to predict what's going to happen. And most people envision being decrepit and old, and they worry about, you know, stuff and how to avoid that kind of thing, but there are no guarantees. Even if you get old, it's possible that you might be in good health, or you could just die in your sleep instantly. Now, obviously, it's important to finance your older age and not live so recklessly that it puts you at a premature risk of debt. But if it's possible to save and invest and take care of your health, then do that, obviously. But there are countless people in nursing homes right now who have children who don't visit, and at the end of the day, elder care is just too much for an untrained person to take on. If you're concerned about your long-term care, you're better off just hiring someone and saving up for it when that day comes than having kids. I also just don't understand the fascination of growing old in the first place. Like, if it's bad now and I'm able to fully take care of myself in terms of mobility and daily tasks, how will it be any better when I'm unable to do these things? I just don't even want to get that old in the first place. Dying alone isn't what scares me. It's the life that you live before you die. The slow wasting away that comes with old age and all the pain as well is something that I definitely am concerned about. But the most common regret from people on their deathbed is not living a life true to themselves and only doing what other people expected. The second was wishing that they hadn't worked so hard. So the last thing I want to do is live a life just because other people told me to, and the last thing I want to do is work my life away. It's not about how you die, it's about living without regret. And I have the opportunity to make a life for myself outside of these expectations. It's a privilege that not everyone has. The real question is living life that you are happy with. And it's a privilege to be able to break away from expectations, but I think it's one worth fighting for. And it's better to die alone than regret having a kid who might not even be there for you in the end. There's just so much heartbreak when it comes to adult children. I just don't know if the risk is really even worth it. I also don't want to bring anyone else into this life knowing what I know about society. The only thing that makes me anxious about being alone is being perceived as a loner due to the stigma that comes with it, but I'm sure by the time I reach old age, I'll really have no fucks left to give about what other people think of me. In the end, what matters is how you live, not how you left this life. And dying alone is actually a rebellion against societal norms. Living on your own terms is something that you can be remembered for. And who needs a sob story or a huge audience at your funeral when you can just celebrate your spirit to a life well lived? When it's time for my soul to pass on, I would much rather have no regrets and no paintings left to paint, and then wonder how I could have lived things differently, or regret putting my art on the back burner just because someone said I can't make any money with it. In the end, no one crosses the threshold of life and death with us. We face death the way we lived. We come into this world alone and we leave alone. I think there is nothing to fear by going through the final transitions of our existence by ourselves. If I was conscious of nothing before I was born, this is what death will be like, or either that or there's some sort of heavenly afterlife. And I just feel like there's nothing to fear in the end because no one really knows what happens when we die anyway. And I feel like all this fear-mongering is just used to control us. It's used to control our behavior. It's used to force us into marriage. It's used to convince us to make more factory workers for the elites. And in the end, I feel like the final rebellion that you can do is dying alone. I feel like when you rebuke this fear and you just embrace whatever comes, if you're lucky enough to get to old age, there is nothing left to fear. You've seen everything and you've been through everything, so screw it. I hope that I end up becoming a plucky old lady that everyone is entertained by my spark and my spunkiness, because I just don't think that I'm built for, marriage and motherhood anyway, and it's not something that I want to do just to prevent some sort of fate that might not ever happen in the first place. Personally, my dad, my aunt, they both died when they were in their 50s, and there's really no guarantee of going any farther than that. I mean, I could honestly drop dead tomorrow. So anyway, guys, again, my name is Shelby. If you guys want to continue the discussion in the comments about your experience with being alone or fearing death, then please leave a comment below. Again, you can support my Shopify by clicking the links in the description, or donate to this channel, or become a channel member. And again, I really thank you guys for tuning in. My name is Shelby. Again, I exist and I make stuff, and I appreciate you guys for tuning in. I will see you guys in the next one.